well, firstly, even if that was the case, that wouldn't be misogyny.
Well, what did you mean by what you said?
That's not misogyny because it's not anti-women. I'm saying that an 18 or a 19-year-old woman would be more desirable.
Pretty anti-25-year-old woman.
Anti-25-year-old women we can argue, but not misogyny.
Well, that's misogyny then, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Well, being anti any woman at all is misogyny.
The final phase of feminism.
This is what I mean. Like, Piers Morgan is so dead-brained.
Yeah.
Just like he could be interviewing Hitler, and Hitler would look good out of it because it's just like,
But
you're a moron.
let's
You're an
explore
actual
that
moron.
statement. Being anti any woman at all is misogyny. That is incredible. So in Piers Morgan's...
Imagine saying that.
Well, I can't. It's so ridiculous. But I never thought... Again, just on my bingo card, it wasn't there. Piers Morgan, no woman can ever do anything wrong.
Ever.
In all of history. And I just thought we'd give you a few examples of women who also did nothing wrong. My favourite, I think,
Not
is...
according to us.
according to Piers. My favourite is Elizabeth Bathory, actually. If you think that Elizabeth Bathory torturing hundreds of girls and women between 1590 and 1610 in, it wasn't Transylvania, it was somewhere near there, then you're a misogynist, being anti any woman at all. She's said to have begun killing daughters of the lesser gentry, who were sent to her gynaeceum, however it's pronounced, to learn courtly etiquette. The use of needles was also...
Oh, sorry, they were sent to learn courtly. I thought
Yeah,
she was
yeah.
killing them to learn courtly.
No.
It's not usually what you
And
call.
there were many witnesses who showed that they were horribly tortured and then just marked in buried in unmarked locations and things like that. But she did nothing wrong. And the example you gave was Irma Grisi, who the hyena of Auschwitz.
She used to rape the inmates, and also picked out the most pretty female inmates to be gassed
You're
because
a
she was jealous.
misogynist. I can't believe you.
I'm not criticizing her. I don't want to be a misogynist. So,
God forbid Piers Morgan calls me a misogynist. But I mean, these are
if
obviously.
you think the hyena of Auschwitz is a bad woman, you're a misogynist, says Piers Morgan.
Well,
That's right, I'm a feminist.
Elizabeth Bathory was rumored to have bathed in the blood of these young girls to keep her skin young.
That's great.
Yeah.
Women's empowerment.
y-
Women are vastly underrepresented in torturous murderers. So she's really breaking a glass ceiling that has kept women down from murdering children.
I mean, we're giving extreme examples of why Piers is an idiot, but Piers,
It's evident.
we're allowed to critique women based on their behaviour, right? You are not actually committed to being pro-woman in every circumstance. Women are capable of doing things wrong because they're actually human beings with agency. I can't believe I have to say this to Piers. And therefore, they can make moral judgments, making women moral agents in themselves, Piers. And I would actually contend hatred of women is actually reducing them below the status of moral agents. And it's not treating them as equals to not hold them to account for things they do wrong.
But I love how he's got so extreme. He's taking like the female version of the like ridiculous 4chan joke about everything being anti-Semitic.
Yes.
So you don't use kosher salt, it's pretty anti-Semitic.
Well, I mean, this is the most extreme feminist position.
Yeah.
If you oppose anything a woman does.
You don't believe the hyena of Auschwitz was stunning and brave? That's pretty
Exactly.
misogynistic.
And so
Andrew Tate's just sat there like, what? Why did I come here? I'm going back to Romania.
So Piers has completely fumbled his own position, as we'll see.
Not when I'm saying that women are beautiful and attractive at a certain age and saying the age.
You're
is
saying
different.
18, 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25.
Well, then ageist perhaps, but misogynistic absolutely
Is that
not.
but you just accepted it was misogyny?
No, I didn't. You said it was misogyny. I'm telling you, no, it's not.
If a 26-year-old woman is watching this and has heard those comments,
Yeah.
would you just say to her, look, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that?
No, I won't. I will say that I am sorry that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world.
That doesn't
and-
mean you're sorry.
No, I'm not sorry. That's the point I'm making. I'm sorry if that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world that believe that, and I was mediating for a conversation.
I love that Piers just can't get it. What do you mean you're not sorry? That doesn't mean you're not sorry. He's like, I know, I'm not. I know.
Again, with the research, the planning.
Yeah.
Like, of all the things you could have tried to, get on Andrew Tate, your researchers came up with, he said that 18-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds.
Yeah.
And you sat down, read all that, and went, I can get him on this.
Yeah.
And then you've got to the point where you're like, what do you mean you're not sorry? Expecting that he was going to say sorry.
Yeah.
So, no, you idiot.
No. Well, that basically means that Andrew Tate is a member of the Taliban. Let's watch.
Parts of the world that believe that about 26-year-old women are parts of the world where women are not allowed out on their own.
That's a
They
conversation.
have to wear full burqas.
Well, that's a conversation
They're not
to have.
allowed to drive cars.
That's nothing to do with me.
But is that the kind of world for women that you?
I was mediating.
applaud?
I was mediating a conversation.
No, I'm asking you what you think.
I don't live in a country where that happens.
You're using that as the excuse for why you're not sorry for
Excusion.
saying it.
It's not an
Is that there are
excuse.
parts of the world where this is fine?
My
So
friend.
my question to you is, well, do you think it's fine?
I don't think it's fine. I live in a world where
You don't think it's fun?
the reason
This
I
isn't that hard, Andrew. You can simply say, Piers, you know what? With the benefit of hindsight, I wish I hadn't said it like that. And if a 26-year-old woman's watching, I'm sorry I said that, because that actually is blatantly misogynist. And even though that's a view held by other parts of the world, it's not a view I share. Now, I would respect you more if you said that than if you try and say, well, it's said in other parts of the world, so I'm not sorry.
This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Because, I mean, the argument that, as we've laid out, the argument of promiscuity, blah, 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 it's obvious as light and day. So let's say it might as well be, do you drink water, Andrew? And he's like, well, yeah. And it's like, well, you're basically a member of the Taliban then, because they also drink water. So why wouldn't you agree to this Taliban stuff? And he's like, what?
It's actually
I don't live in a country where the Taliban rule things. What are you talking about?
It's actually even worse, because essentially what Piers Morgan is saying, look, if women can't be discount prostitutes, then we
need Sharia.
Yeah, then you want the most extreme form of Sharia, don't you? And Andrew Tate's just like, something. No. I mean, there is a middle position where perhaps we don't live in Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, and actually women take their own sort of personal sanctity a bit more seriously.
The Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, not every woman has to wear a burqa. The law was passed, but most women just don't do it, and it's fine. The Zoomers just don't enforce the law.
But let's assume that they did.
Piers Morgan is actually more extreme than the Taliban.
But let's assume that they did, and it was how Piers is characterizing it. Like, there is a middle position between rampant promiscuity and the Taliban. Piers
Piers doesn't see it.
Yeah, Piers just, I just can't fathom this. But one interesting thing.
Again, I'm sorry to. But it's just, imagine actually writing those questions and then thinking this is going to work. I mean, I'm sorry to keep lagging on it, but the sheer stupidity to think that you're going to get away with this. You've sat down with your team for presumably quite a few hours beforehand. We're going to fly this guy and pay for his trip. Sell this up.
But remember, this is the best part of the interview that they could find. This is like an hour-long interview, I think. So,
the whole thing's even more stupid.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we might do a follow-up when they release the full thing, just to see how ridiculous it becomes. But what I love about this, right, is Tate said contingents of the world who believe this, right? This doesn't mean Islamic countries. Piers just instantly goes, "Oh, you mean Muslims?" I mean, they are part of that contingent.
I think more than just the Muslims understand that promiscuity is not a good thing for women.
Exactly. He's assuming that everyone in Britain is fine with women being massively promiscuous. There's no problem there. Obviously, these are British values. Women should have a double-digit body count by the time they're 20. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, all of China believes this, presumably.
Yeah, exactly. It's mental. It's like, Piers, this is a general conservative position that almost the entire world shares, including, probably more than half this country. But anyway, so the final no, this isn't actually the final one. There's another point that is worse, right? Because Piers is like, right, how can I stand on the dead body of a teenage girl to make Andrew Tate look bad? Now, you'd think, hang on, Piers, how does that make Andrew Tate look bad? And Piers is like, just watch.
I think
that doesn't tell me what you think.
Then you need to understand why my content existed in the first place. My content existed because I tried my very hardest to be an absolute and utter realist, especially with uncomfortable truths. I was pointing out that very uncomfortable.
Is that a truth?
It's an uncomfortable truth in many parts of the world. It's not a truth that I'm happy about.
An inquest this week found that a 14-year-old girl, Molly Russell, died from an act of self-harm while suffering from depression and the negative effects of online content. The coroner said she was exposed to material that may have influenced her in a negative way, and in addition, what started as depression had become a much more serious depressive illness, and she very sadly took her life.
That's absolutely disgusting.
Right. Her father's campaign for better protections against potentially dangerous social media algorithms, right? It says that the particularly graphic content she saw romanticized acts of self-harm, normalized her condition, and focused on a limited and irrational view without any counterbalance of normality. First of all, what is your response to that? Nothing to do with you.
That's the first thing. Yeah, it is nothing to do with me. The fact that a 14-year-old girl took her life is truly sad. The world we live in today is the world we live in. The fact that something like that happened is almost mind-blowing to me. That's truly sad. I actually feel sad inside to see something like that.
Got nothing to do with you. Then why you bring it up, Piers?
Because this is his tactic.
Yeah.
You may remember when he was on CNN. This is literally what Ben Shapiro called him out for.
I was going to say, you remember the Ben Shapiro thing?
Yeah. You will stand on the graves of the kids at Sandy Hook, and he kept saying it, and then Piers Morgan was like, "How dare you say that I do that?" Well, I've seen you do it repeatedly, Piers.
Well, you're literally doing it right
How
now.
dare you? Well, you keep saying that, but you do it. He's continued the tradition.
But that's the thing. Like I looked into the Molly Russell story, right? all it does is reinforce my position that teenagers shouldn't have access to the internet. Right? Have you got the link to the Guardian article there, right? So Molly Russell's family had given her a phone and then noticed a change in her behaviour in the last 12 months of her life.
She was watching Andrew Tate. Then Andrew Tate
Nothing to do with Andrew Tate.
Came to her house.
This is in 2017, right?
Personally killed her.
Andrew Tate isn't even famous at this point, right? So she'd become more withdrawn and spent more time alone in her room, but she appeared to be normal when she was with the family. Of the 16,000 pieces of content saved, liked, or shared by Molly on Instagram, here we go, 2,000 were related to suicide, self-harm, and depression. She'd last used her iPhone to access Instagram on the day of her death. 2 minutes before, she'd saved an image on the platform that carried a depression-related slogan. Right, so teenage girl was given a phone, access to Instagram, spent all the time in the room, going down a rabbit hole of depression-related content, and eventually it caused her to commit suicide. Andrew Tate, what do you have to say about this?
I wasn't there.
I'm not involved in this in any way. Like, kids shouldn't be on the internet, maybe. Like, that's nothing. It's such a disgusting thing. Like, again, it just makes Andrew Tate look good because he comes up with, well, that's horrible.
Well, that's the thing. Andrew Tate has done nothing in this interview other than stand there and go, what?
I don't